You're an experimental economist. What does that mean?
Using experiments in economics involves bringing student subjects into a laboratory environment, assigning them a role in a real economic situation, having them play out that role in a way where their payments, the amount of money that they're going to earn in the experiment, depends on the decisions that they make. So it's a real economic environment. Once they go ahead and play their role, receive their payment, then as researchers we come back later on, take a look at the behavior that they exhibited during that experiment and use it to test various economic theories.
In your economics class, you often ask your students to participate in experiments that demonstrate the concepts they are studying in microeconomics. Where did you get this idea?
I originally started thinking about experimental economics from the research perspective when I was a graduate student at Purdue University. My thesis advisor was an experimental economist, and he started getting me thinking about ways that I might use this approach in my own research as I was working on my thesis. The more I started to get involved in conducting experiments myself for research purposes, doing additional reading, I discovered that the experimental methodology can be applied in a classroom environment in a way that makes students active learners, gets them involved, up out of their seats, gets the blood moving, and gives them an opportunity to play out the role of economic decision makers. So much of what goes on in introductory economics classes involves students sitting and listening to the professor. And this is a chance for them to actually be participants, for them to be researchers for a change.
How does this approach make the material come alive for your students?
As I said, the idea of just getting out of your seat to start with is fun. And so one of the big barriers that we as economists face right off the bat is getting students interested in the material. And there's no better way to be interested than to be an actual participant. Instead of having to think about abstract buyers and sellers, all of a sudden now you are a buyer or a seller, and you have to make decisions where the choices that you make are going to impact how much money you earn, whether it's fictitious money or extra credit points or real dollars.
How has this affected the way you've structured the course?
I've really thought long and hard about making specific changes to the course so that the experiments don't feel like just an add-on to something else that I would otherwise be doing. When I first started out, I started slow, which I think is probably not a bad idea. I added a couple experiments to my already existing introductory microeconomics course. They went over pretty well, and so I figured that it would be appropriate to try to incorporate a few more. And as I did that, I really felt like the course needed to have a focus on this methodology. And in the last couple of years, as I've taught additional sections of microeconomics, I've attempted to incorporate and build the whole course around the experimental methodology, so that we start off on the very first day with a very simple short experiment, and we end on the very last day with a description and a